Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Gopher Solutions webinar. My name is Tabor Sawatsky, and I will be your host for today's event. For those of you who are new to our webinar series, this is a monthly event that focuses on a variety of physical education subjects and topics. Some of our past webinar topics have included PE teachers presenting on specific activities like assessment, fitness, classroom management, and PE advocacy. Past presenters have included Dr. Robert Pangrazi, Dr. John Medina, and Jean Blades. Our presenters have done a great job of bringing useful topics and information to the field of physical education, and our webinars will almost always occur the third week of the month. Today, all attendees of today's webinar will receive a certificate of participation for 1 hour of educational credit. Also today, all attendees will be entered to win the MyPlate Class Pack. MyPlate Class Pack is a complete educational guide to the USDA MyPlate program, featuring the ultimate combination of visual aids and informative materials. It includes the MyPlate poster banner pack and the MyPlate teaching kit. It's a $379 value. Today's webinar is titled Integrating Nutrition and Literacy into Physical Education Activities with Jessica Shawley. Before I introduce Jessica, I wanted to mention that you will have the chance to ask questions during the presentation. Your questions are only visible to me, the moderator, so feel free to ask any questions you might have during the presentation. If you look over on the right-hand side of your screen, you should see a bar, and there's a questions area there where you can type in any question you might have at any time during the presentation. Like I mentioned, I'm the only one that will be able to see it, and we'll accumulate the questions throughout the presentation, and we'll have a chance to address your questions with Jessica at the end of the presentation. Today I have the pleasure of introducing our presenter, Jessica Shawley. Jessica is a National NASPE Middle School Physical Education Teacher of the Year. She is National Board Certified, along with a master's degree in curriculum and instruction. Her high-energy workshops are jam-packed with ideas and resources that support and inspire professionals on a variety of topics, including small-sided games, pedometers, blending fitness and nutrition into activity, integrating choice, grant writing, and professional practices. Teaching at Moscow Middle School in Moscow, Idaho since 2003, the core of Jessica's teaching is built upon emphasizing personal and social responsibility, providing student choice and meaningful content, and teaching a variety of activities that have a viable connection to students' lives. She strives to build a sense of value regarding physical activity, all while trying to have the most fun possible. Jessica played fast-pitch softball at Whitworth University, where she earned her BA in Health and Fitness Education, an endorsement in Secondary Math Education, and Leadership Studies minor. At this time, I will turn it over to our presenter. Jessica, it's all yours.
All right, thank you so much, Tabor, and thank you everybody for holding on. I'm ready to rock and roll, and I'm just very honored and excited to be here today. So the bottom line for us, my big idea here is this nutrition and literacy activities in physical education is all about planting seeds. So we're going to talk about the environment, the curriculum, the resources we have, establishing routines, and we have lots of ideas on activities for us. So with the learning environment, when we're planting our seeds and creating those conversations with students about nutrition, one way we can do this is through the learning environment. So what posters are you providing? You can color code the equipment according to the MyPlate colors and the food groups to be able to have those triggers for students to be making those connections. And what's nice here is that we have, great resources available through Gopher and the vendors. That here's a great Teach Unique poster that we just got here recently, and we're bringing out in our nutrition games unit that is coming up right after spring break. And it's just a beautiful poster that the students are going to be able to lay their food cards on. We're going to be able to hang it up on the wall, and that will really help, keep that out in the forefront there with our students on the learning environment. It was interesting. I just simply Googled, the MyPlate bulletin boards, and lots of ideas came up, and our students helped design bulletin boards in our school through our technology class for even point of decision signs. And here's some samples that I found, and I just thought they were really great things that, you know, could give teachers ideas on creating their own bulletin boards for their learning environment. Also, all the social media sources that we have today, from Voxer to Pinterest, just tons of ideas out there and people sharing those ideas, and I just really appreciate our wonderful community that we have. And again, here's just a simple screenshot of nutrition bulletin boards. That's all I Googled, and I was able to get tons of ideas that people have shared. So thinking about curriculum and resources, I always think with that backwards design, like, what do we want students to know and what do the standards tell us? So first off, that standard 3 is where I go to for my middle school curriculum. In standard 3 in the Shape America standards, they have its own line here is nutrition. So when I'm thinking about my lessons and what I'm designing, I know that my middle schoolers, they need to be able to identify food within the food groups and select the appropriate servings and portions for their age and their physical activity levels, developing strategies for balancing healthy foods, and then describing the relationship between poor nutrition and health risk factors. These are the things that really drive what I do. It drives those conversations that I'm creating with students, and these are the seeds that I want to plant with them so that it carries on into other conversations. These are pullouts from the other standards here that I tie in, bringing all of this together, that physical activity knowledge, being able to work well with others, and then our overall appreciation for fitness and health and lifetime physical activity. Thinking about our curriculum and resources, I have a ton of resources posted throughout the webinar here, but I wanted to bring to mind, folks, the strategies in Joe-Perd Publications as a member of Shape America. The forum's been great for asking people questions, forums such as Voxer, being able to ask people questions and have conversations. Your local dairy council and then the ChooseMyPlate.gov website are some of those main, tried and true resources that have been out there for folks. So check those out if you haven't already. And then I wanted to mention routines. So our nutrition themes, are you going to have a nutrition theme for the day, for the week, for a certain unit? And how can you design your routine so that you can have a lesson opening that includes that healthy habit or that routine, that nutrition talk, and can you bring that in your closing discussion? This is really love to capitalize on that time with students, so they're learning those activities through that motion, through movement, and then we're able to bring it all together in the closing discussion. Thinking about curriculum ideas here, there's a great article in the Strategies magazine back from January, February 2014, and I pulled some of the questions from it, added some of my own, and there's a great scope and sequence there for secondary teachers on a nutrition education curriculum scope and sequence. But those topics, lead into discussion ideas, and then the author had a list of activities. And then I just think about those activities and I turn ideas and content into active learning experiences. So I've kind of listed some of the activities there, and our students creating food logs or breaking down meals, energy in, energy out concepts, turning those into games. There's a lot of fun ways to turn all this into active learning experiences. Here's a screenshot from the ChooseMyPlate.gov website. And what's really great is they have the bottom gray circles there. You'll see the Eating on a Budget, the 10 Tips series is a great resource that you'll see used later in the gameplay, from quizzes to tracking your food as well. There's also a variety of apps that we can use to show our students and teach those skills. So here's a screenshot from that. And here's a list of those 10 Tips series. So if you're thinking about your routines and having a theme for the week or for a unit or for the day, you can see how there's so many different ideas where you really could have, adding more vegetables is maybe your theme for the week or for the day, focusing on fruits, making half your greens whole. It has great tips and talking points for our students, and then you can modify it to any age level. Okay, curricular resources again. what's nice here is that not only the website, but now in our like Gopher catalog, they have a lot of nutrition curriculum options for us to look at. All right, so getting right into our activity integration. I wanted to break it down from simple to more complex and give everyone a variety of ideas, and then also post templates on the website for you to begin using immediately. First off, target games are just excellent from elementary even through middle school and beyond. My students love target games. I love them. From beanbag toss to bocce ball, or some also call it cardio cornhole. We're tossing things. We're using our underhand toss. We're using our equipment in the color coding of the My Plate, and you're able to bring in those nutrition concepts. So I know here you can see the healthy spots, and you can have bean bags, and you're tossing them. You're working cooperative with a partner to earn points and earn food spots, or you're working competitively. The students can be active. You can change your locomotor movements and how you go retrieve your bean bags. So you're working in your fitness and you're working in your nutrition integration. Another great one is bowling. My students, I love bowling. We finished a big bowling unit this year, and you have the free bowlers education curriculum that comes with ideas, and they integrate nutrition and literacy into that. You have bowling games through Gopher here. You see the picture, and it's all the color coding, and I do a variety of progressions with the skill building. So if we're working on getting a strike, or we're working on the build-up game, you knock down one pin, and then you knock down 2 pins, and then you add another pin, and so on. That build-up, work-up bowling. And the cardio bowling, they're moving, they're working on their skills. But then with whatever setup you have, they might get that piece of food for their team plate. They're working cooperatively as a team. They're still maintaining their fitness, and then we debrief at the end. We look at our plate, we debrief it, how balanced is our plate. We discuss as a group what foods can we integrate for, and those target games are really great ones. And then add something a little different to those target games too, tying in another healthy concept. Dice is a fun and simple one as well. And so going for a balanced plate, Gopher has the My Plate dice here. That's really beautiful. Teachers I know are using just any kind of dice. The kids can create their own exercises, whatever they land on, that's the exercise they do. They can write down the results on paper. They could go get a piece of food for their team's My Plate. It's great as a warm-up. It's great as part of an overall larger lesson. But again, we're using the equipment that we have, and we're integrating in the nutrition ideas into that movement activity. Spinners are another fun one. So we have the Fit and Spin here. There's a picture of a student, has all the colors from the food group. I know there's an all-green spinner, all-purple spinner. There's spinners you can buy, there's spinners you can make. And I developed a Spin to Win knowledge nutrition check here, where there's questions from each of the spinners that would be laid out among the room, and the activity area, and the students could go to that spinner. They can do some reading, they can answer the question as a team, as a group, and they can go around to the different spinners. As a math teacher in me, I'm also certified in math and taught 7th grade math for a year, and it was just fun to bring in different ideas. So when we do this, we're also talking about probability. So what's the probability of landing on, a certain spot? And so it gives the fitness portion to the lesson, but then it also has the students reading and working cooperatively and thinking about their nutrition habits. My Plate memory, this is another fun one. Simple concept. Kids love those simple games from their childhood. Memory was a favorite game of mine, and now I'm teaching my 4-year-old how to play it, and this just brings back those fond memories. So Gopher has these beautiful large food cards with pictures on them and the nutrition labels, and so spreading these out along the table, along the floor, or even tables when we're in the classroom, having a relay style or a group style. The smaller the group, more activity, the better. They're running out there, they're flipping up 2 cards. and they're running back to their group. So if a myth would be 4 jumping jacks, let's say, and if they get a match, it's 9 repetitions of that food group exercise. And so maybe you have a spinner, maybe you have a station they have to go to that's color, or they have a list there and they just know what they're doing. But this one for me is great because I love bringing in that macronutrient discussion and reading of food labels. So we talk about like how many calories are there in a gram per gram for protein and carbohydrates, and you can see it listed there. So that's why with my students we go the 4 jumping jacks, 4 repetitions, 9 repetitions, because there's 9 calories per gram in fat. So it's the 4, 4, and 9. I always tell my students 4, 4, and 9, 4, 4, and 9. We're having that repetition so that they can remember those numbers and then what do they mean, what are our macronutrients. And so the food card matchup is great, and then we lay them all out and we have a great discussion. So here's my classroom here, and we've had a gym renovation, so we were doing our PE classes out of the regular general classroom. So I had a science lab classroom, and I still wanted to do active learning activities. And so here's my spinner. I just hung up 1 spinner on the board, and we were doing this My Plate Matchmaker. So the students would be doing exercises at their tables. They would be going to spin for the exercise for when they got a match, and it was a total blast. And what was great about having those tables there in the middle is we placed all the, food cards up at the end, and then we had that conversation of looking at the pictures. Well, what's one food that you like, that you know? What's one food that you've never tried? And we're debriefing with a neighbor or a small group and then as a class. And then having students set those goals. So what's a goal? I'd always ask my students, what's your goal that you can set for this week? What's one food group that you want to try and eat more of? Or what's one new one that you'd like to try and you think you could talk to your folks about, maybe trying some at home sometime? So it's just a great way to have that activity, tie in that and tie in those conversations later, and having those visuals for my students was just priceless, and it was a great thing for our classroom. Bingo's another fun one. So we've done, the memory game, and now bingo. I've created a bingo card templates. There's a lot of different progressions that you can work through, but students working in teams or pairs, they can, you can create a nutrition spinner so that whatever food group color it lands on, or maybe they're rolling dice, that's the square. They choose a square to cross off, and then they travel to that cone. So if they landed on purple, they chose a protein square to cross off, and it gives them a number of repetitions of the exercises to do. They go to the purple cone, they do the activity as a group, and then they come back as well. And so they're traveling to that food group station. You can use, again, various locomotor movements for travel, whether they're skipping or galloping, and then they're returning to their bingo card to repeat the process. And so it's just a fun way to bring in that concept of bingo for students to work through things and working together as a team, our cooperative learning, working on our fitness, and bringing together a lot of things. And again, that content at the end with that discussion and how we worked through our bingo card today, what kind of food groups were we getting, what are our goals for our nutrition this week, how is our nutrition going, what are healthy habits. Another one here that can be used in a variety of ways is what I call My Plate in Motion or My Plate Mania. And there's lots of variations of this now because, as we teach, we continue to try different variations, and especially with our different age groups, we have, maybe a framework, and then we build off of it from there in different layers. So when you look at the resource website, you'll see there's a games with a cashier, without a cashier. There's a version game, it's called Food Tag Frenzy. On the Gopher website, there's an invasion and tag style game. It's all the same concept. So it's a really great framework to work into in working in our nutrition and building in a healthy plate. So here you'll see a great picture of the Food Tag Frenzy. They're building a healthy plate. My version, they're doing different stations, and here's the picture here of a gym layout. You might have your stations along the perimeter. You might have stations mixed in. You can keep it as simple or as complex as you want. And there's even some screenshots here on the bottom of just my fit deck cards I'd thrown down and some bit spots, and students helped throw those out first period at the different cones. And so as teams, they're working together. They're trying to earn as much food as they can by doing exercises and earning food bucks and then cashing those in at the store to get their food card to bring back to their plate. And then we're debriefing at the end. If you have a balanced plate, why or why not? Justifying the answers, getting in that conversation with their peers. Is it balanced? What are my RDAs, my recommended daily allowances? How many servings now? You can kick it up a notch to talk about those servings, and you can then analyze the food cards, then start to look at their food labels. And so it's just a great framework here for the students, whether you call it My Plate in Motion or My Plate Mania. It's been a fun one for our students to enjoy. Here's a picture of them in action at the cones. We've used a variety of My Plates. You can see in the bottom right-hand there. We've also just printed off our My Plate mats from the choosemyplate.gov website and thrown them in pockets, page sheet protectors. And what's great is I love the choice that happens here for their fitness focus. So you might have fitness stations that, maybe the purple cone that's all on strength. You might have at the orange cone for carbohydrates, all like cardio style activity. So you can then debrief with the students as you're walking around to the different cones or a spinner or whatnot. Okay, what type of activities or fitness activities do we have here today? Are these muscular strength? Are these muscular endurance? Are these cardiovascular? There's just, again, a lot of debriefing and questions you can have with the students. They can reflect upon their choice. And another one to go with that would be the food group speedway option, where the students are practicing a skill. They're maybe dribbling the basketball around the basketball court, and then they're taking turns with a partner who might be doing some fitness at their My Plate. So every time they go around, dribble the basketball around one time, then they pick up a food to bring back, and then they switch. So it's kind of an on-off activity, and that one's a really fun one too, because all of these games can be different mediums, whether it's an invasion game, a fitness activity, or a skill building activity. The nutrition content really does flow really well into all of these things. RDAs, I just wanted to mention that from the Idaho Dairy Council, so my state's local resource, we do have an opportunity to get the Healthy Foods flagpoles, and these were developed by the Idaho Dairy Council and Boise State University, and they get to flag the tool, and it tells them their recommended daily allowance in each of the food groups and according to their physical activity level. So having that extended conversation of, depending upon your activity level, that really also impacts the amount of food that we want to eat. We want to be making sure we're making, good nutritious choices. We're getting enough calories in our day, especially if we are really, really active. So this is a really neat thing you might want to look up from your dairy council as well in your state. Thinking more now into the nutrition literacy, I wanted to mention the 10-tip series, Scholastic's nutrition cards, being able to read food labels, and then, simple word scramble games, or even the spelling of certain food groups or foods in general. So here's a screenshot of the 10-tip series sample. So the whole page is filled with 10 tips, and I simply printed them and cut them out into tickets. Eventually, I did get them copied and pasted into a Word document that I've provided for folks, and you could go in and edit these to be more friendly for your age group if you wish, based upon your reading levels. But being able to cut these out into tickets, and then they have to collect all 10 by the end of the activity time frame, or they're working through some skill building, trying to collect all 10 tickets, and they're placing them on their plate or in their hula hoop or whatever designated area it is, and they're great talking points for students. Being able to talk about, like on tip number 7, sipping on some vegetable soup. So talking about how to get our vegetables in through soup and looking for reduced or low sodium soups, because bringing in that conversation about salt for our students, and it's just great 10 tips, simple tips for our students and that eating vegetables is important because they provide vitamins and minerals, and most are low in calories. So again, just great talking points for our students. We're getting them engaged. We're getting their brains thinking about our nutrition, about how we're going to treat our bodies and what we put into them and why that's really important. The Scholastic's nutrition cards have also been an excellent piece for us to use in getting my students to read to each other and to quiz themselves on their nutrition. So, you know, they're great, beautiful little cards. They have a multiple choice question on them according to the food groups. They have the food group labeled on them by color. And one neat thing we've done, in addition to just general fitness stations, using them in the Scholastic's game and using them for relays where they do quiz-offs and they're doing locomotor movements, is I've also used them in our weight room as a break station, because students, they want to go from one exercise to the next and they don't really understand getting that rest in between. And so I'd have them check in at the Scholastic's nutrition card station, and they would quiz each other just on one question, and then they would let me know what exercise did they just do, what muscle groups was it working, and then boom, they'd go on to their next exercise choice. And then at the end of the lesson, not only were we talking about our fitness portion and, you know, use of the weight room, but we also debriefed on, well, what were some Scholastic's nutrition cards that surprised you the most, or that you were surprised upon the answer, or I might pick a few that I thought were the most challenging and quiz the whole class. And then we're talking about our nutrition again in the context of our weight room and our overall personal fitness. Reading nutrition labels is another great one for students, and with my middle schoolers here, there's a great idea from Tammy Brandt, a National Teacher of the Year of Middle School, where she had this in her activity handout where you have your labels and they're writing, because they're trying to identify the information, writing down the number of calories in the serving. And then at the end, you can always talk about, well, is there one serving or two servings on this label? Because then you go back to check for their understanding. And then they have to do one jump rope for each calorie. I just think that's a great idea. So they're doing their jump ropes, and then they can go move to the next station with the next label. And then at the end, you can bring your students in, maybe have little whiteboards, have them write their answer that they wrote down, whether they were working individually as a team, and then they could hold up their answer, and you could see where they all were, or they could turn in the worksheet to you. I just thought that was a great idea on identifying the information within our labels and something quick, and the students can even bring in nutrition labels for you as well. Word scrambles, there's some great activities from the 10 Tips website. They have an actual word crossword there, word scramble, and I thought, well, why not take this and make it active? So I wrote on different, just simple little note cards. So the first one is brown rice on the top right, and I just have brown rice, and they were scattered together, and during bowling, once they knocked down the certain pin, they get to take one of the cards out from their pile. And then as they got more and more cards out, they were able to shuffle them around and decode them and unscramble them. And then the whole, of course, the theme for those would be the whole grains for this one. Technology, I definitely wanted to mention. I think Clickers is a great way to check for students' understanding, and you have all these questions, and how can I check for their understanding? Well, Clickers is a great way to do that. So with your closing questions regarding your nutrition, using Clickers is great. There's different nutrition apps to show the students and how to track their foods. The bottom left, the yellow eat this, not that game is kind of fun, just to show kids a couple of examples, and there's two different pictures there to compare from, and you want to eat this and not that, which one's the healthier choice? And sometimes it's hard to tell because it's about going out to eat. And it's just creating those conversations with students again, as they might be pretty surprised what is in their salad, especially when they're using all of that salad dressing and what that adds to it. So there's some fun technology ideas here. I just wanted to briefly mention Field to Play 60. You can always go more into the slides later for more of the details, but we are a Field to Play 60 school. We've been involved with the program for about 4 years, and it's provided a great amount of grant money to develop a healthy and active school community within our school culture. And so it ties into our nutrition. March is even National Breakfast Month. Our students in our technology class they design healthy posters for us. We are working on a cafeteria makeover where we'll be posting their posters, promoting breakfast, doing recipe contests. We've just done a lot of different things, these little things over the years, so that students know we're an active and healthy community. For the physical activity portion of Field to Play 60, it's provided lunchtime activity and recess material. It's provided activity break materials and trainings and nutrition activity stuff and morning running clubs. So this has been a great way to fuel our overall healthy school community. And then also, of course, there's great activities from Gopher that meet a variety of different age groups and levels. And I just wanted to throw some screenshots of those in there to help some of you that can get kick-started here with some activities. Maybe you can go to a parent support team and get some funding for these, or find some grant money, or have your budget money. And there's just some fun ideas here, or even taking ideas and adapting it with your own equipment that you have now. For my resource slides, there's a ton of resources there for you on my personal website there, the PE Champs site. You'll see handouts, and you'll be able to click on the My Plate one, and it has a ton of different handouts, and people can contact me any time with ongoing support and questions that you might have, because we're just here to learn from one another. These are some of the activities that have worked well for me, and I know have worked well also for others. So I definitely want to encourage you to, again, is to go back to your curricular decisions. Where are you at right now? Where do you want to go? How's your learning environment set up for this? What routines do you have, or could you begin to create? What resources do you have? And then how can you blend that content, this nutrition content, into your activities? How can we embrace some technology if that's a possibility for us, and make that work a little bit? You don't have to use it all the time. I know technology doesn't work all the time, just like earlier today's example. And so you have to just move on and keep going. And I'm so happy I was able to present this to everybody. And I want to encourage you to also look into that grant funding and your local support to be able to bring these concepts to your kids. There's just great stuff here. So look into that Field to Play 60, look into your parent support team, and I think I rock and rolled through all that for everybody, and I'd love to take any questions. So thank you so much.
Great. Thanks, Jessica. And for those of you who are wondering, we will be sending out the link to this, a recorded version of it, so that if you want to take it to your PE department, or if you want to dig into some of the detail that Jessica went over, you certainly can do that. And on the right-hand side of your screen, you can ask any questions that you might have of Jessica on her presentation. Looking at some of the questions here, we addressed the fact that we're going to have this recorded, and some of the websites or web addresses that were missed. You'll be able to dig in and take a look at those. One of the questions, I'm not exactly sure what it's referring to. It says, what's the name of the game again? Any thoughts on that one, Jessica? I'm not sure. I know you went through a lot of stuff, so I'm not sure what that refers to. I'm
not sure either.
That's all right.
Some of them, there's Food Tag Frenzy was the one that I tied to the Gopher specific game, would be Food Tag Frenzy. Yep. Maybe that's what they're referring to.
That is exactly what it was, Food Tag Frenzy. Yep. Okay. One question says, which of these do you think would work best for high school PE? I'm not sure what they're referring to as far as which of these. Do you have any idea on that one, Jessica?
Let's see here. For the high school level, for the students, I would maybe try some of the My Plate Mania ones, or the My Plate in Motion, to where it could be either a skill building or a fitness center approach, to where if they're doing fitness stations, okay, or some sort of skill building thing, then they're also picking up that piece of food, or that food bean bag, or that food card. And then also the reading the nutrition labels one, I think those are probably two of my go-to ones with that. And again, and reading those 10 tips, or having just a printed off sheet of the tips, not even cutting them out, where they're identifying some of that key information and maybe picking one of those tips that they want to work on for that week. And all of these really are great maybe for that high school level where it's just a quick little warm-up. You know, you're just starting with that warm-up or at maybe a closure activity so that then it can tie into your end as well. And that's what's nice about all of these. Another thing I wasn't able to mention is because of our short time was the pedometer. So my students do wear the downloadable Gopher FitStep Pro pedometers, and we've been using those faithfully every day for 4 years now. And so what's neat about any of these activities is we have activity time goals for them. So we want to keep our students active, and we challenge them, how active do you think you can be, or how active do you think you can make this? And, you know, the students will challenge themselves as well to be active while they're also learning this content.
Great, great. Well, while we wait to see if there's any more questions come in, I'm going to announce the winner of the My Plate class pack, and the winner is Pat Massinini of New York, PE teacher at Fonda Fultonville Central School. So, Pat, we will get that sent out to you today. And it looks like that about does it for our questions. So I want to thank all of you for joining us, and thank all of you for kind of sticking with us here through some of our technical difficulties. We will send out your certificate of participation and a link to the webinar, and we will also be announcing next month's topic for our webinar here shortly too. So we hope that you'll join us again in the future. And again, thank you all for joining us. Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you, everybody.